Yo, epicseven, it's Pasticciaccio here. We just recently had amazing news in the Mermin's mail, which included the reprint of 3F, one of the most wanted artifacts in the game, and this time though in the form of a capture, perfectly designed for the current Tour 2 players. Beautiful. By the way, it should release in early March, just after my man with a banner, so you better not go too deep on it, okay? And the banner will be an high class summon, so you can keep pulling and get either a random 5-star Covenant Knight or a copy of the RT or an off banner. But it will have a separate pull counter, which will give you a guaranteed copy on the 120 pull and another one at 240. So basically 1 and 2 PTs worth, which are by the way extra from anything that you can randomly pull in the banner, okay? So it's just a guaranteed copy. Just like the last diff class summon banner that we had back in around November for Master of the Nightmare Arty, if you remember that. Keep in mind I will call the new artifact 3F in this video just out of convenience, and before we jump in, if you didn't know, 3F lets you slap extra damage based on your max HP, turning tanks in basically DPS abominations to not just straight up call them cancer. So this is a chance based RT, and keep in mind that usually you want it at plus 30, it's max level, but if you absolutely love gambling just like me, you could leave it at I will say plus 24, which will give you 90% chance to proc the extra damage. After all, if you're not legend, who cares, right? So last thing, remember the extra damage is additional, so it gets increased by Pursuit set, the set that was released in Otherworldly Breach a month ago, and so it goes over Freedom Barrier and damage limits passives like Spirit Eye Selene S2 for example, right? So I will try to make it simple with a tier list. But first off, I will straight up say that you need 2 copies of it, starting from 0. And the first unit that you want absolutely on 3F is Belian. This unit, in my opinion, is a massive badass, with an overpowered S2 and amazing Bob curtains that will always be useful, but not much of the rest of the kit, honestly. So 3F is a way to bring a lot of value to her, because you still need Belian on a lot of games in both RTA and Guideward and Arena. Plus with the release of Nurse Eula, heavy HP scaler, and so Belian too got a massive buff, and now Belian can just casually deal 17k on S1 with super immunization and 3F. And also you can combo her with Light Area or the S2 from Fire Secret and really just tune her into a DPS. Not only that, but if your opponent doesn't have any kind of mitigation, your AoE S1 with the extra proc will proc 2 times the additional damage, making her really scary without even an HP buff, right? So 3F lets you also ignore crit stats, so you can go extra on whatever you like more to have, such as speed or ER or extra bulk. If you want a build recommendation, I will personally build her on a Giga Build Key counter pursuit set. It's what I'm running right now, and she honestly feels fine with it. Next up is Brightsenia, in my opinion still an amazing unit, when you want a different type of damage or dealing against a lot of AoE, and she even got her natural additional damage buffer recently, both on her passive and from the release of Pursuit set, therefore you could even skip keeping 3F on her, but if you have the luxury to keep it on her, her damage will be absolutely nuts, since you most likely want her on a full tank build, and anyway, she has a good build variety. I would personally recommend a counter pursuit set, which sounds really annoying for your opponents to deal with, and it's usually the way to go for guild war defenses. Other than that, speed HP or straight up base speed full bulk if you only wanna pick her in her set or tank down matchups, but I really recommend to go for a pursuit set, it's really good on her. Then we got Last Ride Crow, which is another unit that is already really solid without 3F. That's because Crown of Glory right now is a really good alternative to have on him, and works so well in tandem with his S2 that you might as well keep that RT equipped already. Said that 3F adds a lot of damage on him, as he can rip off his S3 a lot of times in his good games, and potentially become another weak condition in your team if not the only one. He straight up can become a DPS and kill something like Freer in just a turn or two. And okay, now we go to a tier special to me, because I put here all kind of fun traps that you can use for RTA, Guideward, and anything else really, because the way 3F works is just fun honestly, and opens up more possibilities to build your characters. So Abyssal Fiend can really throw off your opponent completely, one-shots the enemy team with just one counter, more or less the same strat with Rocket Punch after all. And the beautiful thing is that Lady Sarah just released, right? Like we said with Belian, and she can proc a counter from the front unit, even if they don't get it or the front unit is not on Elbris or counter, which is nuts for your Fiend. It sounds really fun, honestly. I will still build her on a counter with 3F though, but really super fun technology to play with, and I'm super excited to have an extra 3F for her soon. Next up is Genesis Russ, and this is a solid alternative to his signature arty, but kinda wacky, because on one side 3F deals with one of his worst counter, which is Rerun, and also partially against Ilinav, but at the same time you're trading off his max HP and OP Soul Generation from his arty, so I don't know. You could find yourself in a situation where you won't have souls to burn on Ilinav or Setsuka and end up like a bum, still 3F help in that situation, because you still will deal cheap damage to them, right? But perhaps not an as you would like. Anyways, these are mostly a strat using Guild War defenses than RTA, or if you're willing to tune some of the other units that usually pair with him to make them generate souls, like with Bird's Eye View, for example. Now we got another very interesting unit for me, which is Mort. So both Nurse Yula and Lightisei are really buff Mortrix back, and again, 3F on any unit that you can just build tons of HP and still be fine is super useful. So if you were dissatisfied with his damage somehow, now you can really be a menace with 3F. I know that you would still prefer to have him in the field for his passive alone, and so Olisek would be a more sane priority, right? Especially in Arena, something like Olisek is still way better, but when I pick him in RTA, sometimes I feel like it's shut down very easily. Opponents have some execution or an entire revive, and I feel like he isn't doing much. So with 3F now you can really one-shot stuff and also bypass freedom passives and even chip down evasion units like Setsuka, that with any other arty will just not take any damage from Mort because of miss, right? An important thing to mention, especially for both Brass and Mort, is that 3F adds another form of damage to their kits, like we said before. Because again, you can be totally fine with them being full HP and crit, so adding the extra damage on top can make mitigation against them really wasteful and annoying, because now your opponent needs to go super slow with both something like Ilinav and Mei so keep that also in mind. Next is Azor, amazing unit to counter Setsuka again. You just want to stack tons of HP, like 28k minimum. But yeah, just for Setsuka, because if you thought about countering like this area, I wouldn't do that, because for the way like this area works, she will just injure you before you will be able to kill her, and so it's very ineffective. At this point, you're better off building her on a Rocket Punch build, right? So if you're a big fan of Azul, hopefully we get a job change soon. I'm praying for that too. Now to the next NTR tier. Albedo was the original unit designed to hold it, but now it's really whatever, I don't know. I still really like Albedo Kit honestly, but she's just overshadowed by way more useful units, right? And still, if you want to play her and trap your opponents, 3F is fun to use on her, sure, but normally you just want her to mitigate with Aureus. And the thing is, here we trade into a very low prior tier, mostly a fanboy tier of each unit, or straight up trolling, or straight up giga whaling. As you can see the other units in this tier, you can just really see how all of them are just traps, and there are of course better choices for each one of them, except maybe Eton. He's just a goddamn man's freaky beast that will Epstein you to the ground with his fucking massive cactron. By the way, of course my love is Cici, she's so nice and psycho. I would just love to give her 3F to beg my opponent's RTA. I already tried her in Guild War with this, but it's not really that bad, okay? But still the damage feels really inconsequential, it's whatever. I hope Smile get buff my mistress someday. So after this we got a tier that you may think you could have fun with them, but you really don't. These units straight up don't work with any other arty that is not Elbris in this specific case. Like even if you're making a Guild War trap and think you want a low attack, low ER, low speed, not on Elbris' area, to make her 30k HP and just still have probably the same or even less damage, you can just go speed her attack set at that point and give her Olisek or whatever really. But still for any use, you absolutely want her on Elbris and give her attack. I think for the rest of the units not mentioned, you get the gist. They are either not exactly HP scalers or have a very definite best in slot that is bad even for trolling. So to end the video, I think in general you really want 2 copies of the artifact. I will say one for Belia and the other keep it as a jolly to use in Guild War when it can be useful, and more generally on a tank like Bride or LRK when you're missing their other best in slot, or perhaps, and hear me out on this, the next night unit coming up because I'm telling you, until now they always done this with other class summon banners, where they release the reprinted limited RT, and then 1 or 2 patch later they release the Moonlight unit that works really well with it, as either best in slot like with Rocket Punch reprint and then Boss Runka, or just a very valid option in the case of Cure All, Magic Wand, and Lady of the Scales, and also Master of the Night, and after that we had School Nurse Yura. Like, okay, they are not the very best in slot, I guess, but they are very solid artifacts to have on them, right? So keep that in mind. Personally, I have a single max copy of 3F permanently on Belian already, but I hope I can get 3 more units of it, I guess. I will max out one of the 3 and then work slowly on the other 2 artists. Anyway, as I said, I can't wait to play 3F Yufin, Bright Senior, and Mort. Probably I may be gonna switch eventually from Yufin to Ras or Bright Senior to Ras. Those for me are the most interesting ones, but again, don't fall too hard on the bait, guys. Like I said multiple times in the video, aside from Belian, it's mostly just for fun than necessity. So be mindful to not completely drain your gems. And if you miss out on an extra copy, for example, keep in mind it will always come back later, since these, yes, these are limited RT, but not tied to a collab or anything. So it can even be present in a limited selector around a year later, or even less, like 9 months. Anyways, I hope you found the video useful, and leave a like on the video, maybe subscribe too, maybe, and let me know in the comments your fit size if you are a female human. Bye bye!